Welcome in. It is ACC Baseball Etc. presented by Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. You can go to pitchlogic.com for more information. We are almost through with our preseason conversations with each of the 14 ACC head coaches. I'm Daron Vaught. Danny Graves is here, and we have the pleasure to be joined by Elliott Avent, the head man of the NC State Wolfpack. Elliott, great to see you. I hope the offseason treated you well and that the preseason has been going well for you.
Yeah, Daron, it's been going great. First of all, it's good to see you and Danny, and that means a couple of things. That means a couple of my good friends I'm sitting here talking to, but it also means the kickoff of college baseball, which brings so much excitement around the country. I've never seen college baseball a hotter product, and for a guy who's spent most of my life in college baseball, to see the interest and the exposure and just all the good things associated with it now, it's kind of fun to watch. But we're excited to get cranked up here, but we also got a long way to go.
Well, let's start with sort of the obvious surface level. As Danny and I were talking off the air a bit earlier about your team, you get a lot of pieces back, a lot of important pieces that are coming back, and it feels like we've said that a few years in a row. I'm thinking of the Sam Highfills of the world, and there are many more on your roster, right? Does it feel sort of easier from your perspective, knowing that you've got such a large percentage of the group that knows what NC State baseball is about, and kind of, I would assume for the most part, knows what their role is going to be entering a season?
Absolutely. The comfortability for veterans coming back always relaxes a coach or a coaching staff. It's just, you mentioned Sam Highfill. There's Noah Souls. I'm saying? Jacob Cozart's a junior, but he's called here for 2 years. There's enough veterans coming back here. Logan Whitaker,
Mm-hmm.
Even though he spent part of his career injured here, he's been at NC State for 6 years. And we live all our guys together. So it's not just on the field. It's a camaraderie off the field. Coach Sloan, I remember Coach Sloan always wanted the late great basketball coach here at NC State, and Monty Tao, told me one time how Coach Sloan always wanted the players to live together. That was passed down through what Coach Esposito and Coach Tanner did here, and then when I had the pleasure to work with Kay Yao here, and our offices are right beside each other, and Coach Yao always told me, Elliott, always live your players together and build that camaraderie off the field and in the locker room. That's, I tell our team all the time, you practice and you try to make a team on the field, and you try to do all the things that you have to be good. Bunt defense, cuts and relays, all the, bunting, all the plays that you have to work besides the talent that your players bring to the field. But sometimes teams are made in the locker room and off the field. And that's where a big part of, pulling a team together. 56 games, there's going to be peaks and valleys. You know that. And you can't let the valleys upset the peaks or keep the peaks from happening. And, you got to have chemistry, and you got to have leadership. And we have enough guys coming back. And our coaching staff, if you look at our coaching staff, Chris Hart played for the late, great Mike Martin, who's so sad. His services will be this Saturday in Tallahassee. And that's a sad moment for all of us in college baseball and the ACC especially. And for me, he was a great, not only friend, but a great mentor of mine. And but Chris Hart got an opportunity to play for 11. And Clint Chrysler, with his vast college and pro career, Bo Robinson in the Hall of Fame at UNC Charlotte, his college and pro career. And then we added JT Jarrett, son of the great coach Link Jarrett at Florida State. And we added JT. JT played here for 5 years and brings a wealth of knowledge, and just got through playing here and helped lead his team to the College World Series in 21. And he adds a lot to this. So there's a lot of things that make you feel comfortable, but in this league and with the non-conference schedule, that you play in the state of North Carolina with all the great teams in the state of North Carolina, you're not going to feel so comfortable at any time or any place this season. But we're happy where we're at right now. But like I said earlier, we got a long way to go.
Man, I think you just said it all, Coach. I don't know. I don't know what else to ask. That's a great synopsis of the season upcoming and what's happening with your squad. But, you mentioned the fact that you have all these veteran guys and you're right. The camaraderie, the chemistry, we've all played on teams or been with teams where you can't wait till the season's over and you can pick your own friends. Right. But when you have guys that actually like each other, it goes a long way. Does that change your style going into a season when you know that you have this many veterans that can just lead the rest of the club?
Yeah, Coach Esposito taught me a long time ago, practice as hard as you can, teach the players what you can, but let the players play. Let the players play and let them, figure it out and try not to get in the way too much. And, we got enough guys, like I said, veterans like Noah Souls and we got veterans from other ball clubs too. In the air transfer portal, we got Garrett Pennington, who's coming from Wichita State and come in with great leadership skills. And the players, they probably drew to him very, very quickly because he knew how to come in and not kind of come in and try to, be the guy. Just come in and be a guy. You know what I'm saying? And players figure things out. And then you got, Alec Makaravich came in from East Carolina, had a great career there. And so we got some veterans, Hollis Fanning from University of Tennessee. So we got some veterans from other ball clubs that have joined our ball club as well. But and then we have an influx of freshmen. This is probably the biggest freshman class that I can remember, and they're all good. It's unbelievable. We have a great freshman class. A lot of good young arms, Danny. You'd love it. A lot of good young arms. They may not be Danny Graves, but we got guys that want to be Danny Graves. And we got some good young arms here, and we're excited to watch them play. But until they get out there, you can see them in scrimmages. You can see them in practice.
Yeah.
But until you get in that ACC play, it's going to be different for them. But a guy just left my office, Jackson Lucas, a while ago. Outstanding. Ryan Marone, Jacob Duden. Camden Wimbish. The list goes on and on. Yeah. Chance Mako. A lot of young guys, Cooper Consiglio, that are throwing very well right now in practices. But like I said, you got to matriculate to the season into ACC play, and we'll see how they handle that.
Well, I know Daron has said this often. It's a good problem to have, right? You got all them arms. Yeah. Trying to find innings, but that's definitely a problem you want to have.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, but when it comes down to it, most teams pitch 8 to 10 people a year. So we got a lot of guys. So we got to figure it out through the early part of the season without losing too many games, try to figure out where the pieces fit.
Yeah. We'll get to maybe some specifics on the newcomers for your Wolfpack. I want to circle back. You mentioned not only the ACC schedule, which is, we all know, is just grueling once you get there, but the in-state non-conference schedule. The state of North Carolina, for those unaware, had more teams in the D1 baseball preseason top 25 than any state in the country. And that's including, California, big baseball state, Texas, big baseball state. Florida obviously has great programs down there. 5 teams from the state of North Carolina in the preseason top 25, according to D1 baseball's polls. And so obviously they set the standard. That is the case for most of the other national polls as well. Just like in your time in Raleigh, Elliott, how has that changed and how have you observed that growth in North Carolina as, like in our eyes? I'm based in North Carolina. You are too, obviously. Like in a lot of ways, it's the center of the college baseball universe. The preseason number 1, Wake Forest, is in the state of North Carolina, right? 4 of those ACC teams. It's just there's so much good college baseball here.
Yeah, and Daron, I was out west for a while, when I was in the Big West Conference with Cal State Fulton and Long Beach State, UNLV, Nevada, great teams out there. And obviously Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Arizona State. So I was out there for 8 years, and I thought the state of California, there's so many players out there and so many great teams. And then I come back to the East Coast, and I know about the state of Florida. We recruit the state of Florida very, very heavily, and great players and great teams, and they're not too far apart. Every 100 miles, it's going to be a great college baseball team. And then we know about Texas. So for you to make that statement that North Carolina has the most top-ranked teams in the country kind of shocked me a little bit. I know how good the state is because we have to play them every year because you try to keep kids in class. And if you got East Carolina, you play home and away. UNC Wilmington, home and away. Campbell University. UNC
Coastal.
Greensboro. I mean, it goes on. Elon. Yeah. It goes on. App State. It goes on and on and on. UNC Charlotte. So the teams in this league are just unbelievable. I mean, this state are unbelievable. But you're playing those teams because they're an hour and a half away. They're 2 hours away. And you try to, when you play in midweek games, you're not going to miss that much class. And you get home and get ready for the next day. And so it's a good thing in a lot of ways. Helps RPI. Great rivalries. Big crowds at these games. A lot of the kids know each other, playing travel ball together, and creates a lot of excitement, but it makes it awfully tough, especially when you couple that with a league that's so tough as the ACC.
Yeah, just makes you better, though, right? You gotta play good teams to be better. I think
you have to.
Yeah, you guys do it perfectly there. I got a question about the freshmen coming in. You said this is a great class of freshmen. Do you or can you say right now who you expect to make huge impacts coming in, especially with all the veterans you already have?
Yeah, the freshmen we've seen, and we're just going by the fall and we're going by scrimmages, but we're a week away from playing now. Today's Wednesday. We open up the following Friday. So, you can say you don't have
I just got chills.
You can say you don't have it figured out, but you better figure it out pretty. You better have an idea. So right now, if I had to give a ballpark guess, I would expect Ryan Marone. He's got a chance to be in starting rotation week 1 for a freshman. That's a lot to say in a league like this. So Ryan Marone, Jacob Duden's been throwing very, very well. Camden Wimbish, Jake Bechtel, Cooper Consiglio. We got some guys, Chance Mako. I'm sure I'm going to leave some guys out. We have a transfer, Shane Van Dam, been throwing very well. So there are going to be some names and faces that you're not familiar with that hopefully you get familiar with really quick as this season goes along. And then we have a couple position players that have played very, very well. And Alex Sosa, catcher from the state of Florida, highly renowned, highly recruited catcher out of the state of Florida. And Luke Nixon, Luke's brother's here, Chase Nixon, son of the great Trot Nixon, who played for the Red Sox. And he's come in here and played very, very well and very hard. And he's an interesting prospect, I'll tell you that. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to be young a lot, and we're going to be old. It's like we're not in the middle here. We're really either old or we're really young. There's no middle ground here, and we'll see how that works out.
Oh, well, let me ask you this. Of the returners, who stands to make the biggest jump? And we probably ask you this every year. Maybe, obviously the guys who have been there a handful of years have made very substantial jumps from the beginning of their time at NC State. But from one season to the next, last year to this year, who do you see as, a breakout candidate comparatively?
Oh, I don't try, Daron. I'd like to answer your question, but I don't try to think about, that's like I pick to click or something like that. That might be more for, somebody else to talk about. But I think, Matt Hebner is a guy that played some last year, not a lot, but he's had a really good fall and a really good spring. We hope he didn't break his hand yesterday. He got hit on the hand yesterday. Went and got x-rays. It's inconclusive, and hope that's not broken for him and for our ball club as well. But Brandon Butterworth is a guy that I didn't mention that came in from Western Carolina. He's had a good fall and a good preseason. We're expecting good things from Brandon Butterworth. But as far as a pick to click, I don't know if I have Josh Hogue's another junior college kid from Florida who we're expecting good things from. But I know Eli Serrano, to answer your question. I hate not to answer a question, but Eli Serrano, I just love the way he plays. First of all, he's extremely talented. He loves the game. He lives the game. And he's had an unbelievable fall. The way he went about in summer, he gained a lot of weight. He's a tall guy and gained a lot of weight. He knows he needs that strength. He played almost every day as a freshman. He saw what that could do to him, especially a big body like him. And he spent a lot of time this summer getting stronger and eating well and doing a lot of things in the weight room. And his fall and his preseason has been unbelievable. So He's had such a big jump. And Cozart, who's caught 2 years here and has gotten a lot of, national attention and all that kind of stuff. Same as Dom Fritton, a lot of national attention from Dom Fritton. And sometimes you hate that because you don't know how players are going to be able to handle that. They almost feel like they have to live up to something, right? And all you got to do is play hard every day and live up to yourself and not try to live up to what other things or people say or publications say. But Jacob Cozart, I've seen him grow as a leader in so many ways behind the plate because I've always told him, hey, Jacob, you're a good hitter. You may be a great hitter. I don't know, but you're a catcher. And Danny Graves can tell you, when I got that ball in the mound, I need my catcher locked in on catching me. That's his job. And I think Cozart's grown a great deal in being a leader behind that plate. So if I had to name two guys, I'd say Jacob Cozart with his leadership skills behind the plate and then Eli Serrano all the way around.
Yeah. Exactly right. I wasn't going to let you go the whole time without talking about Jacob Cozart. You probably knew that was going to happen. I think we've all seen him grow. Definitely as a hitter offensively, but when you have that kind of guy behind the plate, it's got to make it so much easier, obviously for these new pitchers, these new arms coming in. And you mentioned Alex Sosa. Unfortunately, he may not see a lot of time back there, but he's learning from one of the best.
Yeah, and you don't know how much time Sosa was highly, sought after and drafted player. We thought he might not get here, and he got here, and how much he's going to catch. It depends on how well he does. And Jacob's going to need some rest. We're not going to beat him up back there either. This is his draft year and we want him strong at the end of the season. Hopefully we're making a push to get to Omaha again. And we want him strong back there. So Sosa's going to get his time. Lanfear, another catcher we got here who's been swinging a really, really, really hot bat in preseason. And we got to find a place to put Lanfear, because he's been really good and he's gotten better behind the plate as well. So both of those guys might catch a little, but Cozart's done a good job. And the biggest jump he's made for me has been in his leadership skills.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You mentioned development of leadership skills. Could Sam Highfill have gotten any better in that department from last year to this year? It felt like he had that category kind of maxed out. No,
he did. And leaders, and part of what Coach Sloan told Monty Tal, who passed that on to me, was, have your players living together. And Coach K. Yao taught me that, but I've watched it. I watched Terrence Tanay, be tutored by Andrew Simpson, and he got tutored by somebody else, and it just passes down. It passes down. You learn how to follow, and then you learn how to lead. And it's been a big, big part of the success of our baseball program, the consistency of our baseball program. And Sam Highfill embodies that as much as anybody. And Reed Johnston, he said here, and Reed Johnston was the guy that pitched on Friday. Sam pitched on Saturday his freshman year. And it's almost like he watched everything Reed did and how he went about his business. And he learned how to follow that, and he learned how to lead. And John Moralia, another good leader among the pitchers who's been here a while, and Logan Whitaker. Those guys go about their business the right way. And Evan Justice, I'm sure everybody kind of watched Evan Justice when he was here and how he went about his business. And it just matriculates and happens. And like I said, it's Sam Highfill is quite a representative of our program. They call him the mayor of Apex, but he embodies everything that we believe here in NC State.
Well, I feel like from the outside looking in, Sam Highfill was one of those leaders, even that his freshman year, especially in that run in Omaha. I mean, it's pretty special watching him.
You had Reed Johnston on Friday. If you think about some of the places they were in, they're pitching it in that great atmosphere at Louisiana Tech, and that was a great, great regional with Louisiana Tech, Alabama. It was unbelievable, and that atmosphere there was unbelievable. And then you go to Arkansas. And so for Sam Highfill and Matt Willison to have to handle Arkansas and that great crowd and that atmosphere there, they grew up a ton right there. And then obviously went on to the World Series, and Sam not only pitched there, but he wound up playing some first base. So there was a lot of growing up that year for those two guys, and they carried it on throughout their career here.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Arkansas was #1 in the country at that time too, correct?
Yeah, they were #1 and hadn't lost a series all year.
Yeah.
And if you go through that league that they're in and don't lose a series, I think they hadn't lost a series. I can't remember. That's what I remember. And then it's just, at that atmosphere. I don't know how many it was, 11, 12,000, whatever, but they were pig sueying us to death. I think the first game I heard pig suey enough to last a lifetime for me.
Speaking of the really experienced starting pitchers you have, we hadn't touched on Matt Willitson even. Players are obviously always trying to get better, Elliott. What can you tell us, if anything specific, that those guys have added from one year to the next? I know Sam, he's always kind of finagling, maybe I can add a new pitch. He's messing with his arm slot and trying to create more deception, stuff like that. Is there anything specific that's come along for any of them?
Well, as you said, Danny, the thing I'd like to talk about most with this answer right here is work ethic. Like when guys, and Danny will tell you, you come to college as a freshman, you just hope you can play. You know what I'm saying? You don't know if you're good enough. You just, hey, am I good enough to play at Miami, right? And you don't realize who you really are. You don't realize you're really Danny Graves yet. You know what I'm saying? You think you are in the back of your head, but you don't know that. And then your sophomore year, if you had some success, there's a tendency to relax, or there's a tendency to doubt if it hadn't come about and happened yet. And so your sophomore year can be a little tricky. And then the junior year for a lot of these guys is a draft year, and the pressures that can put on a young man to go through your draft year. And then if you're still here as a senior, sometimes you can think the draft has escaped me and maybe I'm not going to play professionally. So what am I going to do for a living? You know what I'm saying? What am I going to do in life? And that can get in your head a little bit. And now when you're 21 or 22, that 18-year-old freshman and that party you go to at the volleyball house don't seem as much fun as it used to, right? And you feel a little bit older and a lot of your buddies are gone. And do you put in that same amount of work? And here's what I'd like to say about Sam Highfill, Matt Willitson, Logan Whitaker, John Moralia, Noah Souls, all these older guys, Carson Falskin. Carson Falskin has come off a really tough knee injury that he had a setback with, a great player from the state of California. And the work ethic that these guys have had to put in to get on the field and be as successful as they are on the field. But then you add to it that they're older. And I just told Noah Souls yesterday, I am so proud of you. You probably worked harder this year than I've ever seen you work. And it's after he realizes he still wants the draft to happen, and he still thinks he can. He's still working toward that. He hasn't given up on that dream. But knowing that it's a little later, sometimes guys don't put in the same amount of work. Noah's working harder than I've ever seen him work in his life. And Sam and Whitaker and Willitson and Carson Falskin puts in a great deal of work. That's what I admire the most, because sometimes you don't see that at their age, and that's been a tremendous thing for me to watch.
Well, I can just tell you also, looking from the outside, it's because of the culture that you've built there, Coach. I think these kids understand what they have with you, and they're not giving up on you. So it's a testament to what you've done there, and you've done for decades, man. So it's amazing. And we love to watch it. Daron can tell you, like, you're one of my favorites. Just talking to and watching you on the field. So awesome.
You're the ball player that, all I've ever wanted to do, Danny, for I don't know how long this is in the game. I think it's like 43 years if you had head coach and assistant. And all I've ever wanted to do when I got into it for Coach Guzzo, Tony Guzzo, who gave me my first opportunity and means everything to me. And when I got into this game and then had the opportunity to coach for some legends like Coach Esposito, Ray Tanner, Coach Frazier at Lewisburg Junior College, all the great people I've had a chance to coach for, it's always been about players and being around the players. And I can tell you, Danny Graves is a guy I would have loved to coach. I've had the pleasures from coaching some guys on USA team for moments, like a summer, like a Ryan Zimmerman or Troy Tulowitzki, guys that you just said, boy, it would have been great to coach those guys for 3 years or whatever. But it's all about coaching young men like the guys we've just talked about.
Yep.
They do represent our program as well as anybody could, and I'm just so proud of every player on this team.
With that in mind, you mentioned great coaches that you've had the pleasure to work with. I want to circle back. You mentioned 11, the late Mike Martin. Could I get you to expand on your relationship with him, even, you know, as competitors throughout his life and his career? Because I think that talking to you coaches over the past, what's it been, maybe not even a week, there's a theme there. And it's you guys are part of a fraternity, right? And that was not lost on him despite being competitors.
Yeah, two of them, and everybody's a competitor in this sport. It's not like this guy's more competitive than the other guy. They're all great competitors. But two legendary coaches that I've been so blessed to not only compete against but become friends with, they were actually mentors to me, because everybody you compete against doesn't become a mentor of yours because they're competing against you, right? And but I talked to Eleven's son the other day, Mike, so affectionately known as Meat, and I talked to him a couple times through this horrific illness that, you know, befell Eleven, and he just I tried to express to him and to Eleven's wife Carol, Mike Martin was obviously one of the greatest colleges ever in college baseball and a legend in the ACC and at Florida State. But he was so much more. He was a friend to me, but he was a mentor. And you don't get that every day. When I came here, Mike Martin became my mentor for a competitor. I've had mentors here, you know, Ray Tanner, I mentioned, you know, the late, great Sam Esposito. But out here was Mike Martin. And when I was out west, Augie Garrido, who was another terrific competitor and won at a high level. But we met when he was at Cal State Fullerton and I was at New Mexico State. And Augie became not only a really good friend, but a great mentor out there. So I've been so blessed in my life to have so many good people that have helped me every step of the way, or I would be absolutely nowhere. But, you know, when I think about Augie Garrido and I think about 11, it's just, you know, what they did for me while they were competing against our teams will always have a special place in my heart. And this is a sad time for our league, and Saturday will be a celebration day, but obviously a very sad day as well.
Yeah, amazing man he was. I don't think he forgot anybody that he's ever coached or played against. And I can tell you, and I was teammates with Meat 1 year on Team USA, and 11 treated me like I was one of his players anytime I ever saw him after that. You know, just what an amazing person
that he was.
Yeah. Coach, we'll ask you this, and we're not asking for trade secrets, just on the verge of you getting started with hopefully a very successful run with your Wolfpack. You've mentioned a lot of names. You've sort of opened some people's eyes, I think, to a lot of potential breakout players for you who are going to be contributors, and certainly the NC State fans, household names here pretty shortly. Is there anything else about this team you think that, you know, us as this might be a little dramatic, but as partners with D1 baseball and the stewards of ACC baseball to the respective fan bases of the teams, is there something about this team that we should keep in mind as we monitor and talk about ACC baseball throughout the season?
Well, I'm sure I'm like every coach could answer that question. As we mentioned early in the show and at different times during this show, is I am banking on that chemistry this team has built. And when it first started, Daron, we're talking about we were getting 20 returning players coupled with 19 incoming players. And then I told you about the gap with we're really old or we're really young. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're puppies or we're really old dogs here. And not a lot in between. So I was wondering how they were going to mesh and how we're going to build a chemistry and how we're going to learn how to get through the losses. And this league can beat you up. This game will beat you up. So, you know, you're not trying not to let the game beat you up personally, and then you're trying to take care of the team, and that's all encompassing and can be very hard to do. And when you got this much a division of old and young guys, this many returners, this many coming in new, I thought it was going to be tough to build that bond. And we have such a short period of time in college baseball. And going home for Christmas, it's a really tough, preseason spring training atmosphere. And so I've been amazed at how this club gets along. And what I'm banking on, even though we haven't posted a lineup, we haven't lost 2 or 3 in a row, and this league can get to you. And this, as you mentioned, this schedule can get to you outside the league. I'm banking on this chemistry of the team and the competitive nature of this team. And I think they have something in their mind they want to get accomplished. And I hope that just doesn't get – sometimes those goals you have of that end of the season where you see yourself, sometimes it can get derailed through losses and tough times, and you can get your kind of eye off the prize a little bit, and you can say, hey, maybe next time, or maybe it's not that important. I'm just banking on this team fighting through all the tough times that they're going to obviously come up and the adversity that we're going to have this season at some point.
Well, those old dogs still get hungry.
Yeah, they do.
You'll count on that for sure. I got one last thing for you, Coach. When you guys go to Hawaii in a couple weeks, got an extra seat for me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First class.
Oh,
We're not first class.
Nice.
We'll have a seat in between us. We'll have a ball.
That would be amazing.
We'll watch a couple movies. We'll talk a little ball. We'll do a lot of things.
I don't think we'd have time to even watch movies. We just talk the whole time.
That's a great trip. You bring up Hawaii. That's a great. We went I don't know, probably 6-7 years ago. And the reason we're going again, the players still talk about that trip. I mean, we go there and have fun. Obviously, we go to play. We're playing a great team. Rich Hill, an old USA coaching teammate of mine. We coach USA team together, so can't wait to see Rich. We're going to have a good time. He's got a great ball club. And Kalai Harrison, one of our great players, the shortstop last year's team, is from Hawaii, so we'll get to see his family. And it's going to be a fun time. But the reason we're going is these players that went there, 6 or 7 years ago, still talk about that trip. And obviously, college baseball is more than baseball. It's college education, but it's the experiences they take with them that grow the rest of their life. And we're looking forward to that trip. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Get to see Pearl Harbor, which it will have an impact on these guys, even though, they probably have never thought about it that much. But when they get on that USS Arizona, I mean, it'll have an impact on their lives. And so we're looking forward to that trip. And yes, sir, you're welcome.
You heard it, Daron. If I show up in Raleigh in a couple of weeks,
you got it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Elliott, as always, we appreciate the time. I'm sure we'll be catching up again here very, very soon as the season gets started. Best of luck as the season does begin, and we'll be keeping an eye on your Wolfpack and touching base.
All right, and great luck to both of you guys, and safe travels where you go throughout this college baseball season. And once again, thanks for everything that y'all do and D1 Baseball does for college baseball.
Thank you.
You got
Coach.
it.
Always great
Thanks,
to see
Coach.
you.